Hello. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I cannot find much students. So anyhow, like we need to start. Okay, good evening. So what I do, we'll start with the programming that practice. So I'll be using some code templates. So what I do first, I will share the link of the drive where the templates are available. Anand sir, can you please keep this link copied? If more students join, you can just paste it.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah, this link. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. You can see 3 files, 1, 2, 3 on the drive, right? So I'm starting with the one. The template is provided in the one, the file named as a one inside the drive. So this is the question. So just I'll read out the question once. So what you need to do, write a program to clone an object E1, right? Op class employee by implementing interface clonable. After cloning, update the department and address of E1. Complete the program as the details given below. Okay. So let us try to understand what are there. So there has to be a class called as an address, right? So let us have a class address, which will have the following thing. And we'll also have a class called as a department, which will also have the following things. Now there is a class called as a person, right? So there is a class called as a person. The person will have the address. So you can say the address will be a member inside the person class. And there is another class that's implement clonable and extend the class person. So we need to have another class that's employee, which extends person class, which has this department type member. Now this entire hierarchy need to be clonable so that my employee will become clonable. So if I need employee become clonable, department has to be clonable, and also person has to be clonable, and also this address has to be clonable, right? So all the things, classes I need to create in this has to be clonable also. So let us start one by one. Let us implement address and department. Address and department both will have a string. So inside the address, I need to store the address in a string. Inside the department, I need to store the department in a string, the department name. We need a constructor and any kind of accessors or mutators, whatever required. Clone method, right? Okay, let us try to do that. So you'll get the same thing inside the drive if you go. So just a copy paste whatever I have. Just a single change I do, since I'm using an online editor, I need to make it as a main. Okay. So first let us implement address. So it has to implement clonable, right? So what it's supposed to have, a private member, that's a string type member, which will be the suppose the name of the address, right? What is the address? And I should have a constructor, a public address, inside which then ADR will be assigned to A. I can create my accessors and mutator, whatever required. So let us have both the things. Public so I can have string A and ADR equal to A. So this will set this is a set mutator method. Using this, I'll be able to change the address, and I can also have a string get ADR to get back the address, return ADR. So nobody told me like I have to have a mutator or not, but as far as the definition what we have seen, so it's specifically says like we need to update the department and address. So if you have the instance variables as private, so definitely you're supposed to have a mutator inside the department and address, right? Otherwise you cannot update them. Okay. Next, you should have the clone method. Okay. So clone method, you need to understand what it will return. For that, seeing the template is very important. So if you say yuan.clone, it returns an object of employee, means it should return the object of the given type, not the object type, because I'm not using a typecasting. Normally clone returns a object type, right? But since there is no casting is done over here, you need to understand it is returning exactly employee type. So why not follow the same pattern throughout our program? So cloning an address returns an address, right? So clone. So this is my clone method, and clone method throws an exception. That's a clone not supported exception, right? So what I need to do, I said return super dot clone. So if you've read clone, you must be knowing this, like what it will do. Similarly, department has to do very similar job. So just save my time, I just copy paste this over here. I'll have department. So inside the department, let the instance variable name as a DEPT. This is my constructor, which will initialize the DEPT as D. Set department will set the DEPT to D. Get address, get department will return the DEPT. Clone will return a department type now because it is cloning a department. So the code remains the same, right? Now you need to see what the person is supposed to have, right? So inside the person, we should have a name, which is of string type. There must be an address, which is of type address. We need constructors if required, and we have to implement the clone. So let us go for person class. Now the person class also will be similar. So this program required a lot of code. So just I'm going in this way. It's a person string. I need a name, and person has a address, right? So I should have a instance variable which is of address type, Okay, so this is my person constructor. I'll initialize the name and I'll initialize the address. So name is N and ADR, which is my address, the person address, it's basically the A. Okay, let us create the get and set methods. See, name I'm not going to change anywhere inside my program, because if you look at the question, it says we need to change the department and the address, right? So the mutator you do not need for a name. So you may just have a public string get name to access name. That's all. But department and department has to be updated and it should be accessible also. So we can have set department and get department. So I can have I can have this for address, not for department, right? So I'll have set address. So A, which will be updating the address, whatever I have. So my object of the instance variable for address is this. So for my address class, I have already created the set address. So I'll just pass A inside that, right? It will update the address. And for get, what we'll do, adr dot set, adr dot get address, right? It will return the address. It will return the address. Okay, so for name, we are having accessor. For address, we are having accessor and mutator both. Next, I need to implement the clone. Clone for person. So now, if I have to clone the person, I need to also clone the address, right? So I need to do it in 2 steps. I have to create an object of person, instance of person. How do I do it? I'll make a clone of the existing person. So that's basically created by super.clone. So new person is created, which is a clone of existing person. Whose address will be the current address dot clone. So address also cloned. So it's a deep copy, right? And I need to return key, but I need to make one change over here. See, clone returns object by default. So that's why I need to cast it to person, right? So that's all I need to. So I think we have done the person class implementation also. Next implementation will be for class employee. Let us see what are required. Okay. So for employee, we say it implements clonable and extend person. Let us do that. So I'll first have extend person and implements clonable. Right. Next, what we should have? We should have a department. We should have constructor. We should have clone method, and there is a update employee which can update the department and address. That's all. Okay, so we can have a private department. DPT. You can have a public constructor for employee, but you need to understand, although there is one instance variable what we have declared over here, it will have also the instance variable of the right. It can it's basically have the, it extends the person, right? So it should have a name and address also. So for that, I should take name. So initializing an employee means initializing a person also, right? That is, I mean to say, so I should have an address A. Sorry, I'll pass the address as a string because user will pass it as a string. A and a string Okay, I'll then call the super because person already do the initialization for the name and address, right? So why I should do it again? Rather, what I'll do the initialization only for the department. Okay. Now I should implement the clone method. So implementing the clone for employee has to be done in two phases. First, we'll clone the employee. Then employee have a department that has to be also cloned. So let's create a clone of the employee. So this creates a shallow, right? To make it deep, we basically also clone the department explicitly. Good thing. Okay, next what I require, we require a method that's update employee, which will be able to update the department and address. So that is basically changing the values of the for the objects, like the department value and the address value. So public void. So what is actually the name? Update emp. Update emp. So user will pass the string A to update the address and a string D to update the department. But how I'll be able to do it over here? We need to call the mutators, right? So for address, employee do not have an address, but it's superclass. That's basically the person having an address. So why not call the super dot super have the address. So address I cannot access directly because it's a private member, but I can call my mutator set ADR and I'll update the address. And DEPT already I have, and DEPT having a method called as a set DEPT, which will update the department. Okay, so we need to check also. It is a good thing to see how the printing is happening. So you're printing the objects, right? You're printing the objects. That means toString is required to be implemented, right? And how the output is coming, it is printing the name first, then the address, then the department, right? So that is the way we need to print it. So toString implementation will go into this inside your employee class. So we'll have public string to string equal for return, right? So we do not have the name, employee do not have the name, but it's superclass having the name. So I can call the get name accessor to get the name. As per the output format, I have given a colon with spaces both the sides, and we have the super, right? The address, get address, that give me the address, plus we'll have dpt dot get department, that will give the department. I think we have done everything. So let us try to run it. Just error, it's 61 line number. Just check out 61. Okay, I missed a E. Employee.
Clone method also.
Which method?
Clone method.
Oh, clone method also, no? Yeah, I have copied. Yeah, thanks. Why this error is coming? Because I'm returning an address type clone returns an object, right? So I need to cast them. Right. Super is under 62. Super A and A extend person. Sorry, this is string, right? User will pass always as an input as a string. Department will be assigned to D. That's basically set DPT, right? We done the same thing for the address. Address also should be set address, right? Okay, so as per the definition, what we are doing here, whenever we are creating the employee, we pass the name, right? Then we are passing this address as an address object and department as a department object, not as a string. So that is creating all the problems. So it's better we'll do address and department. Actually, I've done correct only previously. Somehow changed it afterwards. So address A to be assigned to A. Yeah. So let us go for any input. Vinay, Mumbai Finance, Vinay, Kota HR. Yeah, it is coming correctly. Right. So see, like I have done the mistake because some point I thought like initially I saw this, I'm passing this address as an address type and department as a department type. But somehow I've made it as a string type. So that was creating all problem. Right. So have you got it? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll go to the next. So this is a bit difficult on the part, right? So maybe so big code may not be, you don't have to write. So this is quite a big code you have to write here. So it's around 77 lines I have written. Okay, so I'll go to the second code. So one is done. Okay. The second code on the drive. So link is already given. You can, if you open that, you'll get the same thing. You can just open the second link. This is the second template. Please copy paste it over here. Okay, so let us read the problem. This is vaccination. Yeah, this one, right? So I think you have seen the question. Actually, the amount of code you have to write, it's very small. Rather, the code given is big. You need to understand what is given. You need to read it properly. But code is quite simple. The last one, like you have lesser code given, you need to write lot of code. And consistency is required, like what you are passing to one class to another class, right? And I'll suggest like a previous problem, whatever I have done that thing. The best way, you may note somewhere in a paper or something like which are the class name or what are the methods you're creating, so that during the call it will be easier. You don't have to go back and check it out like what are the things. Okay, so let us see this question. So we are basically planning for the second COVID-19 vaccine on the date this. So you can understand this time we have created the question and this time this was going on. So for the students who has already taken the first dose, right? For them we are planning to do it on this particular day. Now the point is, what we need to find out, a student is eligible for the second dose if 28 days have been passed, right? So how do I know that if 28 days are done or not? So I need to find out what is the date of the first dose, right? So if I subtract the date from this given date, right, the date of the first dose, then I have to check if it is greater than 28, right? Eligible if 28 days are passed, means it should be greater than 28, right? So that calculation we need to do. Write a Java program to find the list of the students who are eligible for the second dose. That's the first part. Given a list, we need to find out first who are eligible, means for which 28 days are done. Okay. Based on the date of the first dose. Okay. And what we do, we must use the stream class. Right. So we'll see in the code how to do that. So your program takes an input, a positive number, which is the total number of students, how many number of students you're doing the calculations. Okay, following the roll number and date of the first dose of vaccination, right? So it has to be passed in this way, format TDMMYY. Right? Okay, so you need to print the roll numbers of the students who are eligible, means from this date minus the first dose date, whose are greater than 28, I need to find all those roll numbers and I need to print it. So this is the thing I need to actually do. Right? Roll number and date of the first dose of vaccination and the planned dose for the second vaccination are available as a variable inside the class student. So that's given. So what you need to do, you need to define is eligible method inside the class student. So let us have a glance because otherwise we'll forget. So inside the student class, what we have, student roll number, and we are having two dates, the date for dose 1, date for dose 2. Right. Now, how do I initialize them? This is the constructor. So there is a class called as a simple date format. So you may say we haven't taught it. It's not required to be taught because the code is given, and if more information is required, you may explore the documentation because it's available with you. But I don't think it's required. Only one function you require out of it. So here I can specify, we can specify how we are expected to give what should be the format of our date, right? So already in the specified in the question statement that this should be the format. We assign the roll number. Then we assign the date what given by the user. So user give a string, the date in the given format that will be passed into our object, right? Which object? The simple date format object. And second dose date is fixed. That's this date. That's also given in the question. So it's quite clear we need to do what? Dose 2 minus dose 1, right? And I need to find out it's greater than 28 or not. Okay. So what it is asking, we need to complete the method is eligible. So let us find out what is required in is eligible. So in define the method is eligible inside the class student that returns if the student is eligible for second dose. So how do I do it? So actually, if you go to the documentation, there is a function called as a get time to calculate the time for the dose. So that you need to definitely go to the documentation to check it. But normally, if normally we have this kind of unknown methods used for our OPPE exam, we give it as give you the syntax separately. But still, it is good to refer the documentation once. Okay, so dose 1 dot dose 2. Now, question is get time gives the returns basically a timestamp in milliseconds. So this milliseconds has to be converted into days. So how do I do that? Right. So milliseconds convert into the second first. That's basically multiplied by 1000. Then I need to convert into minutes. Then I have to convert into hours. Then I have to convert into days. Okay. A little caution over here. See, this number will be quite big number, right? So if you take a int, it may happen that it may not fit into a int data type because int having a specified range. So you may like to treat this as a long. So if you want to make it as a long, you can just append with any of this. You can just append a small l or capital L. It basically means one of the value given in the long. That means in your calculation, if you have long operated with a int, your result will be always a long. So there won't be any loss of data, that's you may be sure. And you want this result to be greater than 28. So this is what you are looking for. So please check for the brackets. So we get the difference in millisecond divided by this, so that we'll get days that should be greater than 28. So if it is true, it returns a true. If it is false, it returns a false, right? So it's is eligible returns a boolean. Okay. Now it says you need to define a class student list. So let us first define the class, then we'll read it. Student list. Let us go back to the question. So student list, define a class student list inside which you'll have to define two methods, get eligible list and is empty. Okay, get eligible list takes input list of student and return a string. So if input is a list of the student, we can understand most possibly the return type will be a stream of student, but you can also make it confirm. You have to check where you are making the call. So here you are making the call. So you pass the entire list of the student, whatever the student list you have created. And from there, you are going to find out the eligible list. Now you have to find out what is the data type of eligible list. See, what is the data type of eligible list? It's the stream student. So definitely it's clear that stream student should be the data type of the function get eligible list. So you have to also check it's a static or non-static, right? So it is called against the objects, it must be static. Okay, so this is your function. And what we do, we are basically passing the full list and we are finding out the eligible list in terms of a string, right? So let us name it as a full list, F list. Okay, so how do I search? It's a simple way. If you know stream, so I'll make it a F list, then I'll say stream. So already I have got a stream of students. So that is done. I have to put the filter, right? I have to add the filter. So filter checks for what? If my student is eligible. So I can just call the s dot is eligible as a lambda. So that means the filter, if is eligible returns a true, the predicate inside the filter is a true, that student will be selected in the stream. If is eligible returns a false, your predicate inside the filter is a false, so stream won't select it, right? So it creates the stream, filter it and return it. It's done actually. So last thing we need to do, we need to write another method that's called isEmpty, which checks if the stream is empty or not in order to customize the output. If the stream is empty, it should print the message there is no eligible student. Otherwise, it will print it like this. So you need to check once. It is better to check how we are receiving the output, because in last program we are not checking, so we have gone wrong some moment. So what we can do over here, so we are checking is empty with the eligible list, right? Is empty with the eligible list, which returns a true or false, which returns a true or false. So let us do that. So there is no problem. So it returns a boolean. So we'll have a public boolean is empty. So what is empty passed with? The eligible list, which is actually is a stream, which is actually is a stream. It is declared over here, right? So it's a stream of eligible list. Now how do I find out if the values are there inside my list or not? So elist, I can find out how many elements are there. I can make a count, right? I can make a count. If count equal to 0, that means there is no element. There is no element. So it returns a true if it is empty. It returns a false if it is not empty. So what is the logic? If not empty, we'll find out. Otherwise, this is empty. So it's correct, right? If it is empty, then it returns a true. So I think we have done everything. We can just run and check. Oh, here I need to make it main, right? Because my editor always takes it as a main. Okay, so it's running. Okay, so we're having a big input. Let's try for first one. So it is eligible list is 1 and 3. 1 and 3 correct. So let us also check for this. Yeah, it's correct, right? So please check out if you have any doubt. I'm just keeping this code, which part I have written. If you are not comfortable with writing it in a single line, you can go for writing in multiple line. Like you can write it as a if else. If count is 0, return true, else false. Like this you can also do. Right. So anything else about this, or it's okay? Is it okay, or you want to ask anything? Not getting
It
any
is
answer.
okay.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we'll look into the third question. So third question is from the week 7. So you can access the file. I'll just remove this template, the code, and I'll take the third question. This is the third question. Okay. So few things you can do directly, like define a class, wrong, exception. So you have to create an exception anyhow, just by seeing the thing. So this is the rental, car rental, right? Example. This is 7. Car rental. Okay. So this is a program which models a car rental kiosk. So it's handle the user request as detailed below. The program first accepts the number of car rental requests. So we'll say how many requests are there, right? Then accept the details about each request. So that's where I want to go and what is the cost. So total number of passenger in the group and what is the destination. That's normally what we input, right? The values are used to initialize the fields inside the car rental class. These values are used to initializing. So these are already given in the car rental. So we have to just check what is there inside the car rental. We'll check here. It's already given, no? The passenger count and this. These are given. And we are already having the car rental constructor which will initialize this to. Okay, so let us find out what is next. So there is a hash map which calls available destination, right? So it's a set of pre-assigned destination and the fare, the cost. So that map will be like some place like a say Kolkata with a certain fare, maybe 10,000. So it's given like this, the destination and the fare. Right? So map is already given to you, it's hard coded. So this is the map, right, which is given to you. So you can see there are 3 destinations for the time being. So and they are associated with the corresponding cost. Okay, so what you need to do. So there is a car booker method, right, which process the booking request and should have the following functionalities. It should retrieve the fare for the chosen destination from the available destination. So whatever the destination user will give, we need to find out if the destination is there inside the available destination. If it is there on this map, we'll find out what is the total cost, right? We'll calculate the fare per head. So we'll get the total fare, then divide by the head count. The head count is already given because your input is destination and how many passengers, how many people are traveling, right? So per passenger, what is the cost? You can easily calculate by dividing the total fare type by the passenger count. It's simple. Then it should print the destination and fare per head. So you have to print the information. The format shown in the public test cases. So we'll check out whenever we'll write the code. The method should generate or handle the following exceptions. This is very important. So there is a exception called as a improper header count exception should throw when passenger count is 0 or non-negative. Let us complete this first, right? So in general, whenever you need to implement an exception, It's not always, rather I'll say, but normally it goes in the similar manner. Or this is from where you can start and then you can customize whenever it's required. So exception, and you can create a constructor which take a message which has to be printed as a E, right? Just forward the message to the exception class, because exception class know how to print the E, right? Which format the E has to be printed, the exception object. The same thing I can do over here. So let me, to save time, let me do the copy paste. So this is the normal format of a exception. If nothing specific is given, like we have to do this or that. So my exceptions are there on the place. Okay. So improper head count will be thrown if passenger count is 0 or negative. So let us do this immediately, because this is very simple job to do. So exception, if you are dealing, it's better to keep your code at from the beginning into a thing. We need to find out which exception we are going to catch, but before that, just start like this. Okay, so passenger count cannot be 0 or negative. So if it is less than 1, what we throw? We throw an exception. Which exception? We have already written that head count, improper head count exception. Okay. Now what message it will print? That's the important part of it. See what is the message it's given. It's a head count. Yeah, whatever the message is there, I have copied it over here from here. I'll place it. Head count should be positive or non-zero, right? So this is the exception I'll throw. Okay. So next it says if chosen destination is not found. So we are having a map which is mapping the given destination with the fare, but what will happen? The destination is not listed. If the destination is not listed, how do I find it out? Right. So if, or let us go for double, because cost is given in double, right? Whatever the cost calculation will come, because we are going to divide it with some value, right? So let us go for normal part, cost per head. So cost per head, from where I'll get? I need to have the avail destination, which is given over here. Say avail destination. Now, since it is a map, I'll say get. And what is the destination is given? It is chosen destination. Do I need to cast? We need to check out chosen destination type. It's a string and a double, so it returns a double only, right? So I don't have to cast. Now the point is, if the destination is not found, if the destination is not there, what will happen? This value will never be returned, right? So it basically throws me an exception. That's a null pointer exception. That throws a null pointer exception. But if it is not through an exception, then I'll find out what is cost per head. So this is basically the total cost, right? This is the total cost. I'll get the total fare. Now, cost per head will be, that is the cost total divided by how many passengers are there? This is the number of passengers we have, right? And we need to print it. So we need to check the format of printing also. So we are asked to see the output format. So let us see the output format. It prints the destination, comma, then head cost. So what we'll do here, system.out.println. So destination plus this should be the destination name, which is for my case chosen destination, then plus double quotes head cost plus this is cost per head. So this is the format given to me. Okay, so it can throw two exceptions. First is improper headcount exception. So if it is thrown, if it is E, if it is thrown, so it's a system dot out dot println will print E, right? There could be another exception if the total this destination is not there on the map, right? Then it will throw a null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. Okay, so next we need to read a bit. We haven't seen what will happen if the null pointer exception is thrown, right? So if chosen destination is not found, a null pointer exception is thrown, a catch block handling this should create a new exception. That's a wrong destination exception, right? Set the new exception chosen as a value exception cause of this exception. So I have to use the init cause and get cause to set actual exception will be caused by this exception, right? So e dot init clause by this cause. So this is the cause of the null pointer exception. This is what is meaning, right? So the catch block handling should create a new exception called this and set the new exception as a cause of null pointer exception. So init cause will have the null pointer exception. Then rethrow the new exception. So whatever we have created, we need to throw. So we need to just check it once if the main is handling it. Yeah, main is handling the exception and printing it, right? Okay. So what is the error message I will need to give? So that is we need to also check. Can you see where the error message is given? If it is not given over here, then we need to see the output again. So improper head count we know. Okay, this is the exception, invalid destination. This is the error message, right? I should give. So this is the error message I should give. So I think we have done everything. So let us check. Just glance through once.
So should we throw the wrong destination exception or null pointer exception again?
See, actual logic says we should throw the wrong exception, but the statement is given in a different way. Yeah, you're correct. The logic says you should call it, but say this is the new exception. It says set the new exception as the cause of the null pointer exception. So set in it for the null exception should be the wrong. So this statement makes the change, right?
Okay.
Getting my point? Yeah, logically you are right. We should do this, but here as per the statement, we need to go like that.
Okay. Okay.
Because on the init of null pointer, it should be the wrong. So that's the way it's written. Okay. Cannot. Oh, sorry. This mean, right? Okay. So for this program, no, you have to give step by step. At a time, you cannot give the entire input. So I'm giving first input like that estimate. There are 3 inputs. 0 is the head count, and Marina Beach where we want to go. So it should throw an exception, improper head count, because head count should be always greater than 0, right? Then the second input is 4 and Elliott Beach. This single code will create a problem. It's not a single code actually.
Arup, T is missing.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone it is. Again, I need to keep. Okay. Just 1 minute, I'll again paste it. Yeah, this is okay. Paste it here. Elliott space is not there. It's there, no?
It's
So
there.
it's giving a, and it is also coming out of the loop. Okay. It is thrown from here. I think these codes are creating problem. Let me take another.
No, Arup, in the code itself, you can remove the single quotes. Yeah,
I'll
and then
remove this. Yeah.
yeah.
Because online, this is the problem. This UTF numbers, no.
Arup, in the code, you have not removed the single quotes, right?
Oh. Same thing will happen again.
Yeah, maybe just one last time we can try.
There is some problem.
It's still giving wrong.
Yeah, there is some problem. Get chosen destination. Total cost. Is going into null pointer exception, means it is not able to find it out from the map. So let me check with let's say 4. It's working fine. 5. Yeah, it is working. Let me keep the enter input together. Shall I check for another input? Improper exception, destination city, head count, PHP incorrect. Some editing. Hopefully now it will work. Yeah, now it came.
Okay.
There is some PDF or some other kind of job. Okay, okay. I believe this is fine, right? This is quite a simple program, but you need to understand like this unit cost kind of thing. What is happening? Okay, so if you're okay, so I'll stop here. Tanya, would you like to go?
Yeah.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Okay, is the space screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So this is the week 8 graded programming assignment question 1. So here this is again a stream filter question. So maybe you can just have a quick look. I'll just read the question. The program shows a list of employee objects, each of which has name, department, and salary as instance variables. A user can query the list to find the employees who belong to a specific department and have salary greater than or equal to the input salary. Complete the program as specified. So there are two things that we have to fill up. One is we have to define a class employee which has few instance variables, and then we have to implement the required constructors and accessors. We have to override the toString method to format the output as in the test cases. Okay. You have to define the function query that takes a list of employees, a particular department, and the salary as input, and then it has to return a string comprising these employee objects which have the same department and salary greater than or equal to the given salary. So this is, if you know the concepts of stream and filter, it's one of the most basic questions you can get. It's not difficult at all. So you'll just take the template code and do the coding. Anybody wants to help with the coding? Just want to give some suggestions. Yeah. Anybody wants to go? So, okay. So we have been asked to define the employee here, right? So class employee. We'll just go by what is there in the template code first. Okay. Now the code says, okay, it should have the instance variables name, department, and salary. Salary, when you have to see, like you can actually give it as int, but at some point it will give some, data type mismatch error or whatever. But here it's already given as double, so you can give it as double here. Okay, so so to be like go by the books one. So I just declare this as private. Now we need the public constructors. String. This is the basic constructor. Parameterized constructor, of course, which we'll use to initialize this. Now, what you need? Accessors for these private variables, right? Public So getting has to be, this has to be a string, and again this will also be a string. So of course be a double value. Okay. So now we have done this, we've done this. We have to override the method to string, right? So that the format of the output is in accordance with those in the test cases. So this is the output in the test cases, right? So we go by, this is the name, department, and salary, right? So that format we have to write it for the toString method. So copy string toString return name department toString method is completed. So okay. Now we have to write the logic program, right? So what do we need? We need to define a method query that takes a list of employees, a department, and a salary as input, and it returns a string comprising the objects. So what we have to see is like we have not been given the definition or the declaration or like the function signature, right? So we don't know what is a return type, we don't know what is the arguments. So we have to go and see how it has been, how that method has been invoked here, right? So this is, as you can see, there are three parameters. The first one is eList, which is an array list employee of type array list employee, right? The second one is D. D is of type string, right? Which stands for the department, right? Now S is a double, and it stands for the salary. So we can actually define the function signature for the method query. So we have public. Again, it has to return a stream, right? Because that's what the main question is like, it returns a stream, right? It returns a stream comprising, right? So we have to get that in a stream query parameters here. Our array list. So now one important thing that we have to see is like Stream is a parameterized class. So if you simply write this, it will give you that unchecked exception. I hope all of you remember. To get something like compile with Java C minus xlint unchecked. It will ask for this kind of an message, right? So compile using this. So that will come if you don't give the parameter here, because stream is a parameterized class. So for all the parameterized classes, what you are not parameterized class, so the type parameter, right? Whatever you take. Why this is important is for this, you are what I'm specifying is that this is a stream of employees. Okay. Sorry, one second. Okay. So here what you have to do is you have to declare a variable of this type, employee equal to. Here is where you have to write the logic for filtering, right? So what are you getting here? You're getting an array list. So whenever we get an array list or a hat set or whatever this we have to convert into a stream to be able to apply the filter method, right? So we do it using the dot stream method. lst dot sorry. Stream. Right. So once you do the filtering, what you're getting is the expected stream, right? We will return this. Now, how do you apply this filter, right? So we know that this filter you can apply a lambda expression. So for what does this mean? This means that for each element in that stream, right? For this is a given element in that stream, right? So you see whether this condition is satisfied. If it is satisfied, then you add it to the output stream, right? So what is the condition here? E should be that have the same department and have salary greater than or equal to the given salary. So you have a certain input salary, which is input department which is given. So you want to find out all the employees in that department and who have a salary which is greater than or equal to this given salary. Okay. So E dot its salary. So the department dot. So for those who are still not aware, for string we always use the equals function because otherwise it compares the object references and not the values. Okay. E dot get department equals string and E dot get salary. Salaries greater than or equal to
E dot get department use an opening and closing bracket.
this is a method, right? And we have to close one more bracket. This is only for this bracket, so this bracket we have to close. I hope it works. Let us see. Okay. So static method, right? We are referring to a non-static method from inside a static method. So this has to be declared as a static method. Okay. Now it has compiled. It's waiting for. So I'll just take this input. So here it is actually the integers. So do we have to do a type transfer? We can't do it here anymore. Yeah, we can't do that anymore because it's a double here. So did this cause a problem during the submission? For anyone who has attempted this question?
I gave it as integer in the salary, so it came out as
Here is it.
yeah.
So, but then this did not cause any problem, is it? This one.
No, no.
So this will cause a problem when you're submitting because it's an exact string match, right?
Yeah. So the output was 50,000 without dot.
Huh. Right. So everywhere you changed it to int, right?
Yes.
C conversion to into WC. So I think we have to fix this from our side possibly. We always lead to this confusion. Okay. So the only thing that you have to remember here is this how to come up with this filter. Okay. That's all what is there at this question.
And I gave it as 2 filter for each of the condition. That should also be fine, right?
Which one? Sorry.
Filter condition as 2 separate filter, dot filter.
That is also fine. Yeah. But does it accept like once you access the stream and then again you apply once more is what you're saying, right? Oh, you took it to a new stream is what you're saying.
In the same like filter E.
Oh, filter this thing dot the other one.
Yeah,
Right?
again one more dot filter.
Something like this dot.
Yeah.
Something like this, right?
Yes.
Let me try this. This is what you said, right? Something like this. We'll see.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you can also do it as a list, but you just have to be a little more careful if you have to use a collect dot collect this. Yeah, this works. Yeah, so this double filter, filter after filter also works. Yeah, in fact, you can actually take it as a list also because this is a var, right? I mean, it is not specified this has to be a stream. You can actually take it as a list also, but yeah, you can try it out and if you want to discuss, we can discuss in the discussion. We can discuss it. But in the question statement, it is clearly said it is returning a stream, right? So we'll just stick to it for now. But a list should also work as what happens. Okay. Okay. So other question is this another. So this again is very much a subset of what Arup already discussed. So does anyone still have questions on checked exception? Any doubt on this question? Should we go to this? Should we actually write it that in it cost get cost? Should we write this code? Anybody wants a, does anyone wants to ask any question also like on this? Any doubt? Okay. So this is very much a subset of what Arup said. So if you don't have any questions, I think we will not continue the discussion. Okay. Arup, should I discuss the question? I mean, I think we have time, but should I? I'm not sure. Okay, fine. So I think, Soumya, do you want me to discuss this? Is it okay?
No,
or-
ma'am, I'm okay with that.
Okay, sure. Okay, then I think no one else seemed to respond. So I'm guessing. Anyway, okay, then I think we'll wind up now. Arup, nothing else to discuss for today, right?
Ma'am, the OPP is same as like same structure as the first one.
Yes, yes, yes. In fact, see, okay, so we have 4 questions out of which you have to answer 3. It's the same
Okay.
pattern and all questions of same difficulty level. Only
Okay.
new thing that we have this time is we are adding 2 more challenging questions which are optional. Like it does not give you any marks. We have not even decided whether there's a bonus marks or a certificate or anything. Because many people, who are quite good in Java, they finish the exam in 30 minutes and they say that, okay, shall we leave? So we wanted to
Okay.
give something which is slightly challenging.
That will be 4 plus 2.
4 plus 2, yeah. So totally 6
Oh.
questions. Yeah, but there is no compulsion that you should, because we
Okay.
have not even
Okay, got
decided whether it is a bonus mark or a certificate or anything. I mean, it's just we thought of just giving it a try, just giving to addition. We want to just give it a try. That's it. So it's
That
just
will be separate section, right?
it will be there, but we'll specifically mention it is challenging type, and we will also mention that these
Okay.
are
Okay, fine.
those conditions we will state it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Okay, so if anyone else has any other doubt, we can check it. Otherwise, we'll wind up the session.
Thank you,
everyone.
ma'am. That's
Yeah,
it.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.